What if I told you that one dog single-handedly saved an entire village from disaster? You might think it's impossible, but today I'm going to tell you a story that proves loyalty and bravery can come from the most unexpected places. This is the incredible story of Rocky, a dog who became a hero. How did this humble canine protect an entire community? Stick around as we dive into this jaw-dropping tale of courage and devotion. In a small, peaceful village named Montana, life moved slowly. The people worked together, children played in the streets, and there was always a warm feeling in the air. At the heart of the village lived a dog named Rocky. Rocky wasn't just any dog. He was a shepherd who watched over the villagers, making sure they were safe. The villagers loved him, and he loved them right back. He was always there, greeting the children and sitting by the elderly. But one day, everything was about to change. Rocky's instincts, sharper than anyone's, began to sense that something was wrong. As the sun set, he grew restless. His ears perked up, his body tense. He wasn't barking for no reason. There was danger on the way, and only Rocky knew it. Little did the villagers know, Rocky was about to become their greatest hero. Montana was a village tucked away in the mountains, surrounded by beautiful forests and fields. Life there was simple. The villagers grew crops, raised animals, and helped each other. People trusted each other, and the pace of life was slow and peaceful. The village was so close-knit that it felt like one big family. Rocky was part of that family. He spent his days running through the fields, playing with the children, and lying at the feet of the elderly as they worked in their gardens. He always stayed alert, watching over the village with a quiet devotion. Every villager knew Rocky by name. He wasn't just a dog, he was a protector, a friend, and a trusted companion. Everyone knew that if they ever needed help, Rocky would be there. But no one knew that soon Rocky would have to do more than just watch over them. He would have to save them all. One evening, as the villagers went about their usual tasks, something strange happened. Rocky suddenly stopped playing with the children. He sat still, his ears perked, his eyes scanning the horizon. The villagers noticed and whispered to each other, "Why is Rocky acting like that?" Rocky began to pace back and forth, his steps growing faster. He was restless. His tail wasn't wagging like usual. Instead, it was stiff and rigid. He growled softly, a deep, low sound. The elderly woman who had raised Rocky called out to him, "Come here, Rocky." "What's wrong?" But Rocky didn't listen. He kept looking towards the distant hills, as if trying to communicate something the villagers couldn't understand. Then, without any warning, he barked loudly, his eyes fixed on the mountains. He wanted to say something, but what? Just as the sun began to set, the ground beneath Montana suddenly began to tremble. At first, it was a low rumble, but it quickly grew louder. Buildings creaked and groaned. The villagers froze in shock. Then, the earth shook violently. Houses started to crack, walls crumbled, and the ground split open. People screamed and ran in every direction, unsure of where to go. But through the chaos, Rocky kept running. his instincts guiding him. He didn't hesitate. He dashed through the streets, barking furiously. The villagers were terrified. They didn't know what was happening. The ground was shaking so hard. It felt like the whole world was falling apart. Rocky ran towards the village square, where a building was starting to collapse. He barked at a group of children who were too scared to move. He grabbed one child by the sleeve and dragged them away just as the building fell. As the ground continued to shake, Rocky ran through the village, guiding the villagers away from falling buildings. His bark was urgent, his movements quick and determined. A little girl, no older than 5, was playing near a house when the roof started to cave in. Rocky spotted her just in time. He ran toward her, his paws pounding against the dirt. The girl looked up, confused, as the ground shook even harder. Rocky grabbed the sleeve of her dress and tugged, pulling her away from the collapsing house. "Rocky, what are you doing?" The girl's mother screamed, but Rocky didn't stop. The building crashed behind them, dust flying everywhere. But the little girl was safe, thanks to Rocky. She hugged him tightly, tears in her eyes. Rocky didn't even pause. He quickly ran to check on more villagers, making sure everyone was out of harm's way. As the shaking continued, Rocky didn't stop. He ran through the village, barking at the villagers, urging them to follow him. The ground was still cracking, and more buildings were falling. But Rocky knew exactly where to go. He ran up to the elderly man, who was frozen in fear. "Come on, follow me," Rocky barked. The man didn't understand, but he could see the dog's urgency. Hesitant at first, the man started to follow him. Rocky darted through the streets, making sure no one was left behind. He led the villagers toward a safer part of the mountain. Away from the village's destruction, people followed Rocky, trusting him completely. The villagers who had once only seen him as a dog now saw him as a protector, a true leader. The sun was setting, but Rocky didn't stop until he was sure everyone was out of danger. When the last villager had reached the safe spot, Rocky finally stopped and lay down to rest. When the shaking finally stopped, the villagers looked back at their destroyed homes. The ground was cracked, the buildings were in ruins, and everything they knew was now a pile of rubble. But as they stood together, they realized one thing: they were alive. They had survived, and they had survived because of Rocky. The villagers began to gather around him, their faces full of gratitude. Rocky sat quietly, his eyes tired but watchful. He had led them to safety. He had protected them, and now he was just resting, as if nothing extraordinary had happened. "Thank you, Rocky," the elderly woman who had raised him said, her voice full of emotion. "You saved us all." One by one, the villagers came to thank Rocky. They patted his head, stroked his fur, and told him how much he meant to them. Rocky didn't need words. His actions had already said everything. He had saved the village, not as a dog, but as a true hero. In the days that followed, as the villagers worked to rebuild, they never forgot the hero who had saved them. A small ceremony was held in the village square to honor Rocky. The villagers placed a plaque with Rocky's name on it. right by the old oak tree where he used to sit. It was a simple plaque, but it meant the world to them. They had lost their homes, but they had gained something far more important, their lives. And it was all because of one brave dog. The children played around the plaque, their laughter filling the air. Rocky sat in the middle, looking up at his family, his tail wagging gently. He didn't need any awards or special treatment. All he needed was to be with the people he loved. And that was enough for him. As time passed, the village of Montana slowly started to rebuild. The villagers worked together, fixing their homes, planting new crops, and supporting one another. But the one thing that would never change was their gratitude for Rocky. He was no longer just a dog to them. He was a symbol of bravery, loyalty, and love. Rocky didn't ask for any recognition. He didn't need to be called a hero. For him, protecting the people he loved was enough. That was his purpose. Every time someone looked at Rocky, they remembered the day he saved them. He wasn't just a dog. He was their hero, and his courage would never be forgotten. As the sun set over the rebuilt village, Rocky lay down on his favorite hill, looking out at the village he had saved. He knew it was safe now, and that was all that mattered. Montana was never the same after the earthquake, but it was stronger now. Not just physically, but emotionally. The villagers had seen the power of love and loyalty in its purest form. Rocky's legacy lived on, and he remained the heart of the village. His actions proved that heroes didn't always wear capes or have superpowers. Sometimes they were just loyal friends who followed their instincts and did the right thing. As the years passed, people would tell their children the story of the dog who saved their village. They would talk about how Rocky didn't hesitate, how he led them to safety, and how he proved that courage comes in all shapes and sizes. Rocky's story would be passed down from generation to generation, reminding